We're ready. Can you see me?
I can.
All right, awesome. Well, first I wanted to start by telling you, you are being amazing. You have so much going on right now, but I really appreciate you taking the time today. So we'll see if we can get to it and talk about your lesson, which I'm excited to share some things that you can do also with your third graders this year. But your lesson was already really highly engaged. You had technology with the videos already, so it was really like, how else can I incorporate technology? Because you did so great. And with the interactive smart notebook, students love coming to the board. So that was all great things. For our lesson, hi everybody, to our viewers. This is Melita and Michelle, and we're collaborating on a 4th grade math lesson. Students will be able to apply the commutative, distributive, associative properties with addition and multiplication. We'll be focusing on one ELL student. We'll call her student A, if you don't mind, for confidentiality. The student A is a Hispanic girl who's 9 years old, and her WIDA access scores were at an average of 3.9. Her highest was speaking, and her one that she would need the most work with would be reading at the 3.1. But first I'm going to ask a few things about you so our viewers know a little bit about yourself. So how long have you been teaching?
Actually, I've only been teaching about 7 years. I've been substituting for long, but I've been around kids all my life. I was a instructional aide for about 12 years, and then I went back to school, and then I've been teaching or substituting for 6.
Alrighty, yes. So you had a lot of different experiences. I noticed you were an art teacher for a little while, and also you did special education for a year. Is that correct?
Yes, but I wasn't certified.
Okay.
So I was just substituting.
Okay, awesome.
I'm not good, I guess. I don't know.
You can be flexible. That's definitely a good thing. And you're a reading specialist for a couple of years? Okay. So, yeah, so a lot of different specialties that you've ventured onto. For your ESL background, I'm not sure if I know, have you had any experience prior to this school year?
Well, I have, but not in the way that, we're doing as far as class goes. Mm-hmm. The first school I worked at that I taught art, it was an ESL school. There were over 30 countries represented. They spoke over 40 languages. Wow. But it was all a pull-out program, as far as I know. And we weren't given any professional development on how to speak with these children. In my interview with the principal, it was, art is a universal language. That's how I got the job.
Yeah.
And then I went from there to Mississippi, and I had an ESL, student A, and I had a couple others, but they were pretty self-sufficient.
Yeah, so
and then I went to Cardinal Valley in Lexington, Kentucky, and they are 70%, I believe, Hispanic.
Oh, wow. It's interesting how so many of us in the class haven't had prior experience with professional development or different strategies. So it's been great getting a lot of that. in this class.
Yeah.
And like with the WIDA, I'm not sure, do you have it near you?
Yes.
Awesome. There was a few things that pertained right with student A and how she's doing in WIDA with her access scores. We are, expected to make sure we're meeting accommodations, and that's something that we've learned and maybe not had any prior knowledge to that about the accommodations. And another really important thing is at the end of the year, I know you take a different state test. K-Prep is what we call it in Kentucky. But for them to be allowed to have these accommodations, they need to have them all throughout the school year in all their different content areas. And that way they could be provided it during K-Prep. So I know that our school stresses students knowing what their accommodations are, and they can request those accommodations in class. And they really promote them saying, on this question I would really like a reader. And so they can raise their hand and ask for those specific things. And they're really taught that during their pull-out sessions. Here's your accommodations that you are allowed to have. And then during testing for like district test, they always do a pull-out method with them. So they're in a small group setting to get the questions read to them or get a scribe or whatever their accommodation may be. So I know that it's something that we really want to make sure that we're doing and abiding by the state and what they're supposed to be getting as ELL students. But I wanted to share a specific page with you, and I wrote it down so we could find it. If we look at page 70 and through 75, it's all the example topics for fourth graders. And so you can look at all the different content areas such as social studies, science, math, language arts, and even social and instructional language. So it's a really nice resource to see, well, where are they now and what should they be able to do? So we can always push our students forward in their language acquisition as well as in their content areas. So right now, student A is at the developing almost to expanding level. So if we use some of the suggestions and different accommodations, we could probably easily push student A into expanding level. So my lesson's going to give some ideas of some ways and the modifications to try to help her reach that.
Okay.
One of the lesson modifications is about, you had in your lesson already to review the vocabulary with the words, add-in, commutative, associative, sum. And one suggestion that I had that you could do for your lesson modifications and accommodations for the student, ELL student, would to be have a slide that you could just start at your beginning of your Smart Lesson notebook and have vocabulary pictures that go with the words. Or even an interactive video that shows how the properties work. And so they have a really good visual with the vocabulary words. And that can help as well. And then, of course, scaffolding is really important. So if we give a definition for a vocabulary word, and within that definition there's words they don't understand as well, then it's really overwhelming. So in the definition where it says the order of add-ins change, instead of using the word add-ins, maybe just changing it to numbers, which is something they could easily kind of grasp.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then later introducing add-ins. That way it's not all this at once, learning all these words at the same time. So using some words they do understand. So that was about the vocabulary and building that up so they feel comfortable with what the words mean. And then also, something that I do, and hopefully you'll be able to see me, I actually do this with my 7th graders, so it's really awesome to see your 4th grade lesson and see how it builds into 7th grade, because we do the properties as well, and they struggle with keeping them separate in their minds. Well, which one is the distributive property? Which one's the associative? So what we do is, for distributive, can you see my hand? They hold their hand out and they take one finger and they says hello and then says hello, so that they're showing, yeah, exactly. So they're showing that outside number goes in and says hello to everybody on the inside. And I show a costume party. It's usually around Halloween, where the person knocks on the door and goes in and says hello to everybody. I'm like, you don't stop inside the door. You're going to go say hi to everyone inside. And so that visual and the movement really can help. And then for the associative property, we use parentheses. And they will also say, pick them up and drop them. And it doesn't change. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they have a lot of fun doing it. So sometimes during class, randomly, I'll just say, what's the associative property, guys? And then they'll all just be like, moving their parentheses. And it takes them a while to remember which is which, but through a lot of practice, it works. And then the commutative property, we talk about commuting to school and how does everyone get to school, and then they try to understand the word commute, just means movement, and then so they're going to show this moves and swaps places. They commute to a different spot. And so we talk about commuting a different way, but you still get to school. Like maybe the road's blocked or there's an accident, and so you go a different way. You're still commuting to school, so you're going to get the same spot, which we say is the same answer.
Okay.
So the movements can be pretty fun, and it also is part of the WIDA to incorporate that kind of scaffolding, and the movement will really help them remember them.
I like those. I think that's going to really help our kids.
Mm-hmm. And they're fun.
Yeah.
Another suggestion that I had was during your active engagement part with the Smart Notebook lesson. I too love to have. Alright, so after the first modification, I also was thinking for your active engagement part of your lesson, you incorporated the smartboard, which kids love to use the smartboard, which I think is great. But in addition to that, usually the one person is engaged and the rest of the class is kind of not focused or part of the lesson. So one way to help that, I was thinking you could incorporate the smart chips, or the little manipulatives that can actually demonstrate their properties and how the answer would work. And so once every student has shown it on their desk, you can select someone to go up to the board, which will also give students immediate feedback if their answer was correct, and are they understanding that learning target and that property. So that would be a great way to also incorporate immediate feedback for those students, which is also part of WIDA.
Okay.
And then another suggestion I had for the modifications would be to do a video, which I know students absolutely love doing videos. And if you have different flip cameras or iPads or something available at your school, or even computers with the video lens would work. And on the videos, students first create a poster for the associative, commutative, and distributive properties. And before they write anything on the poster, they have to communicate and practice listening and speaking with their group mates, which is a big part of WIDA. And when they're having those conversations, they must agree that however they model on the poster does demonstrate those properties. So I know I gave the example of the costume party and them going and saying hello and saying hello. So they might want to draw, you know, here's a house and someone's going into the house. But they get real creative in however they want to do their poster. And for the ELL student, another accommodation could be for them to do the video in their native language, which for student A would be Spanish for her. And then an extension, which I know students would love to do, is that the 4th graders could send the videos to 7th graders, because 7th grade actually does learn about associative, commutative, and those properties as well, and that would be prior, it would access their prior knowledge for the 7th graders. And it would just be something really neat for them to see, like, oh yeah, I remember learning that in 4th grade. And seeing these 4th graders present that material to them would be really cool.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, and they love watching videos. And there's already some really good videos that students have made to do the properties. Another modification is the home connection piece. And I sent you that letter that could go home to families in Spanish as well as in English. And the students could watch the video with their parents at home. And then the parents can answer 3 questions about the video. And the students can see, well, did they teach their parents how to do the different properties? And then also in the letter is some enrichment, some games that go with the learning targets, and extra videos to help further enrich or intervene if they're still having some problems on the learning targets. But I know that I mentioned before about if a student doesn't have access to internet at home, one idea that I have is I did some training to get a free iPad, and I can sign that iPad out to students. And since I have so much data and I don't use very much of that data, I set my iPad to use my cell phone data, and then parents can access the video and watch the video at home if they can't make it to a library or somewhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it works great because there's many parents that just don't have those internet connections and technology at home.
That's true, and a lot of their smartphones don't have, you know, enough data or enough storage.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that wouldn't work either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The last modification that would really help your ELL student be successful is about the review and assessment piece. That is also part of best practice. And I was thinking the clicker system. I know you said your school has the clicker system, which is great because it provides that immediate feedback. And when a student is done taking the quiz, they can look at and assess themselves. Oh, okay, maybe I missed all the problems on associative property, so that's the one I still need to practice. So it really has a self-reflection kind of component to it and immediate feedback. And then for you as the teacher, you can see, okay, is my class ready to move on? What areas did we struggle? Do I need to have interventions? And so it gives you a really good whole class picture, as well as you can look at the individual students and see how they're progressing as well.
Yeah, and the kids love those, love the clicker system, mm-hmm. and it's a quick way to assess for me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I love that idea.
Mm-hmm. And if you ever need help setting up how to do the clickers, I feel like I'm the clicker guru. And so in my building, everyone always comes up to put a quiz in, and I mean, if you have it on Microsoft Word, it uploads so quick, so easy into the clickers. So even today I used it for students did a gallery walk, and after they finished, they put their answers from the gallery walk into the clicker. So they left the class knowing, how did I do today? Before I had to go through and grade all their papers, and so it saves me time as well as it's just so immediate for them.
Well, and the big thing right now is those exit tickets. What a cool way to do an exit, you know, whatever, an assessment. Just a quick, did you get anything on it today? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
And yeah, exit tickets are amazing. Well, I hope all these accommodations help student A be successful. And I give you some strategies to use with your future ELL students as well. And I know we'll be talking again soon, and you giving me some ideas for my lesson as well. But thank you so much for your time again. I really appreciate it. And so I really just want to say thank you.
No, thank you too. I'm sure that student A will